Hi, Luke here from bassgorilla.com, and today we're going to be checking out the new synth from Sonic Faction called Sickness. Now, Sickness is an incredibly powerful and immense sounding synthesizer, and one of the big reasons for that is that all of the sounds in this synth have been meticulously resampled from the infamous Virus TI. So here we are in the presets tab on the right, and you can see that we can select from different arpeggios, basses, effects, keys, leads, and pads. So let's start off with some examples. Let's check out some of the bass sounds. So I'm going to start with this example here called Belch. Let's check it out. Very nice. Let's check out another one. So this time I think I'm going to go with Grinder. Okay, awesome. Sounds very, very high quality. I don't think you can get this kind of quality of sound in a lot of soft synths that are around. And that's because all the sounds in here are sampled from a very, very high quality hard synth. So next we'll check out some of the effects. Let's check out Whiteface. Very interesting. Let's check out another one. Let's check out Chocolate Whore. Love it. Okay, so into some examples of keys. We'll start with Old English. Let's try this. Nice. Okay, and then into another example. Let's try Space. Nice. All right. And then into some leads. So we'll try this example here called Work. Awesome. Okay, and then let's check out a couple of pads. So there's one here called String Section. I'm just going to play a couple of chords. Lovely. Okay, so those are just some examples of the wide variety of sounds that you can get from this synth, and we're going to be walking you through the interface in the next section of this video. In this section of the video, I want to walk you through the interface, so I'm going to start off by just selecting a preset. I'm going to go with a bass preset called Grinder. It sounds like this. Okay, and I'm going to use that to demonstrate some of the features as I walk you through the interface. The first thing you'll notice about the overall interface of Sickness is that it looks very sleek and it's very easy to use, despite the fact that we have a lot of different parameters to tweak. Everything is laid out in a really nice way so that it's really simple but effective. So you can see here on the extreme left we have master controls like switching between polyphonic and monophonic. We have glide, spread, and volume. And moving to the right, you'll see that we have two different oscillators here. And these are very, very powerful oscillators. And I'm going to demonstrate those to you in the next section of this video. Below those, we have a sub-oscillator. And then to the right, we have this center dial, which is very powerful and a lot of fun to play with. So this is what I want to demonstrate to you right now. If I play some notes, just to remind you how the preset sounds, what we can do with this center dial is adjust different qualities of the sound. So we can click and drag outside the largest circle, and what that's going to do is enable you to adjust the oscillator blend between oscillators 1 and 2. So check this out. This is on the extreme left. So that's just oscillator 1 with the sub oscillator. And then on the extreme right, and then anywhere in between. See how much of a difference there is between this and this. So that gives you a lot of control over the overall timbre and texture of your sound in a nice, easy way to use. And if I want to reset this, all I need to do is click on this where it says oscillator blend here, and that will reset it back to the original position. Next, within that outside circle, you'll see that we have another circle which is a grey, a darker tone of grey, and that is actually your sub. So if we click there and drag, we can adjust the level of our sub oscillator. So this is with no sub. So really nice sounding sub, and I'll show you the sub oscillator itself in the next section. And finally, we have the ability to use the noise volume. So let me just reset the sub volume. I'm just going to click where it says sub vol, and that's slightly adjusted it and reset it back to its original position. Next, I'm going to demonstrate the noise volume. So if you click towards the center of the circle and drag upwards, you'll see that this new line is appearing, a thinner line, and that is the level of noise. So the original preset has no noise oscillator in it, but I can introduce some noise. It sounds a lot dirtier when I add that in. Okay, so I'm just going to reset that by clicking on noise volume. Alright, in this section I want to show you some of the capabilities within the oscillators 1 and 2, and also the sub oscillator. So if you have a look at the center dial controls here, we have the oscillator blend all the way over to the left, which means we'll only hear oscillator 1, and the sub volume and the noise volume have been brought down to their minimum possible values. So all we're hearing here is the oscillator 1. So we have the ability to select between 8 different types of oscillators. So right now we're on classic, and this is what classic sounds like. That's with a sine wave. Moving more into a saw wave. And then here you can see it just changed from wave select to, as I move this slightly to the right, it becomes pulse width, because now we're in the pulse shape, which is kind of like a rectangle or square waveform. So you can hear how different that is when I play pulse width all the way to the extreme left. So that's a really nice sounding oscillator there, and this is the classic oscillator type. We have the ability to change the offset in sense and then tune in semitones. So you can detune and make it detune compared to oscillator 2, which is independent of oscillator 1. So that's the classic oscillator type. The second one is wavetable. So Sickness actually comes with a wavetable synthesis capabilities, and I'm going to demonstrate some of those to you right now. So we've just moved over to wavetable. Let's adjust the wave. So lots of different voicings and textures and timbres in there. That's a really powerful sound, even though it's quite high pitched. I could imagine that being used in some dubstep somehow. So you have the ability to select different waves and then sweep through those different waves and get lots of different interesting textures in your sound. So that's the wavetable. And let's move on. We now have wave PWM. Just adjusting the wave select there, you can hear a lot of different sounds. Let's go down an octave. Okay, so some really good sounds in there. Let's move on and check out grain SMP. That's such an interesting sound because it sounds like really high energy but really concentrated as well. So I love some of the textures we're getting out of this. Okay, let's move forward. So we've got grain CMP next. Wow. Very nice, very powerful. Let's sweep through that. Wow, I love that. Really nice sound. Let's check out the next one. So Formant SMP. And now let's sweep through this. So this, for example, would work really well if it was mixed in with a sound, a different sound on oscillator 2. So on oscillator 2 we currently have this. Okay, so you can hear that we can get some really interesting sounds when we start to mix the two different oscillators together. I've just moved it back onto the extreme left so that we can carry on. So on oscillator 1 next we have Formant CMP. Beautiful. And you can see how easy it is to get great sounds out of this. All I'm doing is slightly tweaking the wave select. And getting great sounds and just slightly tweaking the sweep. Okay, so you can get some great examples there. And next we're going to check out the hypersaw. So this is an interesting oscillator, very, very powerful. And let's just adjust the density of it, the detune amount. And then if you mix that in with oscillator 2, and if we adjust oscillator 2 to make it something very interesting, so let's go with maybe wavetable and just see what we can get. Okay, let's mix that in with oscillator 1. So some really interesting sounds that you can get there, and that's even without using the sub oscillator. So let's try mixing a little bit of sub into that. Very powerful. And now with the sub oscillator, what we have is the ability to switch between different types of waves. So we have a sine wave, triangle, saw, and hypersub is the most powerful one, so it sounds very, very powerful indeed. Now that we've sculpted our sound using oscillators 1, 2 and the sub oscillator, we can now start to use some of the effects in any of these 7 tabs to further manipulate the overall sound. So let's come into the filter tab to begin with. And what I might do to begin with is just start off with a very low pass filter. And just have that rise up by using the adsr envelope here. Okay, so you can get that kind of an effect. Next, we're going to come into the envelope tab. Let's try having a bit of pitch envelope on it. Okay, so getting a bit more interesting there. We'll come into the shape tab next. And let's change that to triangle. Boost up the sustain amount. Change the tuning of it. So you can see we get a lot of effect. Just changing the sound up. We'll come over to the LFO tab, and we have here LFOs 1 and 2, and I'm going to assign LFO 2 to filter morph, if I can find it. There it is. And you can see what this is doing to the filter. That probably wasn't the best stylistic choice for sound design. But you can see what this synth is capable of because of the way it's been designed. So next, I'm going to take that off because I don't think it sounded great. We'll have a look in the effects tab. And let's increase the saturation. Back that off a bit. Bit of chorus. Okay. We'll increase the reverb. Redux. Bring that down a bit. So this sound is really starting to take shape now. In the last section of this video, I want to demonstrate Sickness's powerful preset morph functionality. And this is the ability to morph between different presets and come out with new combinations of sounds. It's very interesting. So what we can do is select a sound that we like. For example, if I select string section here and then click on this 1, now string section is assigned to position 1 in our morph matrix. Let's play a chord. Or 2 chords. And now I want to assign a different preset to position 2. So let's see, we could select another pad I think will work well. So let's try Lunar and assign that to position 2. And remind ourselves of how the string section sounded. So what we can now do is click anywhere on this morph matrix and put the crosshairs between positions 1 and 2 to hear a combination of those. So you can get some great results from this and some very crazy sounds. So thanks for watching. I hope you can see the power of Sickness, and I recommend you to try it out for yourself.